So I guess it's good morning and howdy, partners, and welcome to the RPC Lunch Bytes, otherwise known today as the Primavera Shootout. So if you're wondering why I called it the Primavera Shootout, it's because a lot of the questions we get asked sometimes are, well, I'm either using P6 and I'm confused what EPPM is and what PPM is, or I'm not using P6 and I want to understand what the benefits are. And there's also this new kid on the block, and that's where the idea of a shootout came from. So the new kid on the block is something called Oracle Primavera Cloud. And people say, well, hang on, we've got P6, we've got EPPM, we've got Oracle Primavera Cloud. Which product should I be using? And I'm hoping to just highlight the pros and the cons of each. Well, there's not that many cons, of course, but the pros of each product and where they might fit into your planning and scheduling portfolio. So without further ado, I'm going to take off my hat because I can't put my head back there. And actually, if I move my chair over, it actually looks like I'm wearing the hat now. So there will be a Q&A session at the end. So if you've got any questions, either put them in the chat message and I'll take the questions at the end. Or if the question's relevant at the time I'm doing the presentation, then again, feel free, just unmute yourself and fire the question in. But there will be some time at the end. So for those who are just joining, I am recording this session and you will be sent a link that you can view this at your own leisure. So I'm going to share my screen now. So hopefully you'll see a little PowerPoint presentation, and it's only a couple of slides. So the idea is I'm just going to run through a few slides about the differences between the P6 versions, PPM and EPPM, and a bit about Oracle Primavera Cloud. And I've got a couple of live projects open in all three of those products, so it's just going to be a flavor of what they look like. So let's get into the shootout. First of all, of course, I got to sell with the RPC. So for those of you who are aware of RPC, we've been in the Primavera game now since 1997 in one form or another. Previously it was called Richard Palmer Consultancy. So I don't know how many of you either know or have heard of Richard. He's our honorary president these days. So Richard was the real founder of RPC, and that's where the initials RPC come from. RPC, Richard Palmer Consultancy. So we specialize in Primavera products, be that training, integration, hosting, licenses, any sort of consultancy. So we can provide an end-to-end project solution for you using the best of breed Primavera products. That just doesn't include P6. We also can provide consultancy services in Unifier, risk analysis, earned value, and of course, more recently, Aconex. So we're getting our fingers into the pie called Aconex as well. And I think the next Lunch Byte session might all be about Aconex. So we've got one of my colleagues on the call here, Chris. Get geared up, Chris. So that's a little bit of the spiel about RPC. So P6 EPPM versus P6 Professional, that's what the shootout's about. But we're also going to introduce the new kid in town called Oracle Primavera Cloud. This was formerly known as Prime. So if you see some odd screenshots that say Prime, well, it was renamed to Oracle Primavera Cloud. I've also got a little feature matrix at the end, so some of the differences in terminology and functionality. And like I say, at the end, I shall also try and do a quick demo of each of the three applications, EPPM, Professional, and a quick view of Oracle Primavera Cloud. If at the end of this anyone wants a deeper dive into any of these, then just give me a shout or get in touch with us at the office at RPC, and we can gladly arrange a product tour for you. So that's the agenda. So first of all, this is a nice screenshot that gives a rounded overview of everything that's in P6 EPPM. So P6 EPPM includes both the web version and P6 Professional. So EPPM gives you all the planning and scheduling. It's got some lovely dashboards and reporting capability, capacity and resource management. It's got a mobile capability as well for updating from the field, updating activity, progress and actual units and that sort of thing. And it's also got a risk register. What the EPPM doesn't do, it's got a very capable risk register, but it doesn't do the Monte Carlo risk analysis side of things. And you'll see that's one of the features when we get onto our Oracle Primavera Cloud that is included. So as you may be aware, the Primavera risk analysis tool, which was otherwise known as PERT Master, that's in sunset mode with Oracle now. It hasn't been developed over the last few years. It's still a very powerful risk analysis tool, but it's in sunset mode. It won't disappear. We can still sell it. It can still be supported up to the current version. So that's just a quick overview of P6 EPPM. And within EPPM, you get two flavors. You buy an EPPM license, you get access to both P6 Web, and that's the screenshot at the top of the screen here. So this is what P6 Web looks like. And for those of you who are using P6 Professional, you'll recognize this as a P6 Professional screen. So P6 EPPM is all about planning and scheduling, capacity planning, resource management, as well as team member for progress and timesheets. And there is an issues and risk management module, as I mentioned. There's also mobile capability, so you can download an app. If you're assigned as an owner to an activity, you'll then see the activities that have been assigned to you by project. You can filter this out in any number of ways, and you can update progress using a remote app. So this could be on your iPhone, could be on your iPad. It's also available for Android, and you can also access the mobile on a website as well. So very capable field options for viewing and updating your plan remotely. So P6 EPPM, and this is the important part of today, P6 EPPM license consists of two accesses to the application, either through the web, through a web browser, or through a desktop client, P6 Professional. With OPC, you also get planning and scheduling, but you also get a few extra bits thrown in here. So as well as planning by duration and time and resource, you can also manage your project using scope and scope changes. And so you can lump a number of activities together as a scope item, and you can start to manage your project using scope. It's a very powerful portfolio management tool as well. So it goes beyond the typical investor maps and scorecards and that kind of thing. It's a very powerful portfolio management feature. It also is licensed, or you can license the lean task management. So this is the ability to create sub activities, if you like, or steps. But whereas in P6 EPPM, you can create steps, you can't put logic on those steps. You can't assign owners to those steps. And they don't show the impact of a step being delayed if it's occurred on an activity. So you get the lean task management. I also mentioned that within OPC, you also get the risk management module, again, a very capable risk register, but also you can just run a Monte Carlo analysis, and this is the middle screen on here. So you can run a Monte Carlo analysis without coming out of the application. You create the project, you hit the button, and you can run a risk analysis. So again, full-featured risk tool. Of course, you've got the ability to view the OPC projects and portfolios through a mobile app. So again, if you're assigned as an owner or as a resource to an activity, you can use the mobile app out in the field to update the plan and view progress and update progress and all that sort of stuff. So OPC has a very capable mobile field options as well. So that's a little bit about OPC. And how is OPC different? Well, you'll see as we go through, and I've got a feature matrix that might explain this a bit better. It is cloud only, and it's on a subscription. So SaaS is what we call it, service as a subscription as a service. So it's a cloud only option. It's very quick to set up. from order to getting access to the system, it's a couple of days. And once you're up and running with this, there's no maintenance. So there's no patches to apply. The applications are updated on a fairly frequent basis with new features as they come in. No maintenance, no server side, anything to look after. Of course, full support from the Oracle support desk as well. So everyone who's on OPC is on the same version, and it's an integrated platform. So we can also integrate OPC to your P6 schedules. And we can also use OPC to integrate to other external ERP and other types of systems. So OPC looks different. It's a different model for licensing. And like I say, the main thing is it's cloud only. So you don't get the option to host this on premise. So this is typically what's included when you purchase OPC. From the project's point of view, the main one, of course, is the schedule app, which allows you to do all your resource management and scope and costs. A very powerful costing and funding feature in OPC. As I mentioned, it's got the inbuilt risk register and the Monte Carlo analysis. And licensed separately is the tasks or lean management, so you can create unlimited number of tasks against a particular activity. I've already mentioned there are also mobile apps as well, so for progress. That's at the project level. Portfolios, you can also create strategies. There's funding, portfolios themselves, and capital planning. A really powerful portfolio feature, so it goes above and beyond the standard investor maps and scorecards and waterline analysis, which I know EPPM can do some of that, but the portfolio app in OPC takes that to the next stage. You also get, with a basic license, you get the ability to create dashboards, which are drill down capable as well. There's two types of reports that you can get out of OPC. You can get the standard tabular reports, and you can also use, you get with OPC, a runtime version of BI Publisher. So as well as tabular reports, you can create graphical reports. So you can create your pie charts and your histograms, your investor maps, all that kind of thing. And you can do your project on a page straight out of the box with OPC. Also includes a workflow functionality. So if you're progressing a project through a proposal stage, you want to manage who looks after the budget or approves the budget. There's a workflow engine within OPC that allows you to track progress through the workflow of the business process, and you can create your own business processes as well with the workflow. Full featured documents capability as well, so you can upload to a file structure, drawings and contracts and PDFs and Excels and all that sort of stuff. If it's a drawing, you can annotate the drawings and you can see the revisions of those drawings. So a full featured document. It comes with its own little inbox and a news feed as well. So when things are updated and you're on the circulation list, you'll get notified that a new project has been created or a budget has been assigned or is awaiting your approval. So really is quite a breadth of applications within one product, OPC. So this is just a screenshot of OPC, and again, I'm going to show you a live version of this in a second. For me, it looks really modern. It's really clean and easy to read. From a user education point of view and user adoption, we found that there's, in fact, one of my customers used the phrase 3 days from zero to hero. So once we got the system set up, within 3 days, I've trained a group of planners and schedulers how to create a project, create the WBS, assign relationships and assign resources. So from 3 days, zero to hero in terms of being able to use OPC. You'll also see we've got this little feature here, this little discussion feature. So OPC, remember, is on a single cloud database, somewhere in the cloud, and we can collaborate with our other team members really easily using OPC. So as I've already mentioned as well, OPC includes the risk register and Monte Carlo analysis. So you don't need to purchase Primavera risk analysis or PerkMaster as it was known. This is out of the box. Create your project, build your schedule, assign your uncertainty to the plan, create your risk register with your pre and post responses, costs and probability and all that sort of stuff. Hit a button and it'll run you a nice Monte Carlo analysis, giving you the probability of your project certainty. So, again, let's go back to that in a second. This is available in the cloud or it's on premise. And in the cloud, it could be your cloud, it could be Oracle's cloud. Of course, RPC hosts the cloud, so that your P6 database will just sit in the cloud. Remember, with an EPPM license, there are two accesses to EPPM, P6 Web and P6 Professional. So P6 Web, you just need a URL and an up-to-date browser, basically anything except Internet Explorer, which is going to disappear anyway. And you also get a desktop client, P6 Professional, which is the tried and trusted, and that's the product that most P6 users will be familiar with. However, we're now seeing a lot of customers taking web access and using that as their primary planning and scheduling tool, and not going into the P6 Professional at all. But with an EPPM license, you get the choice. You can either use web access to create your plans, or you can use P6 Professional to create your plans. So remember, one will sit on your desktop as an icon you double click, and the other you just need a browser for. So that's a quick overview of P6 EPPM as opposed to Oracle Cloud. So the OPC database is only available on the Oracle systems, on the Oracle Cloud. So this can't be hosted on premise. It can't be hosted. You can't create a standalone version of this. It's literally on the Oracle Cloud, which of course is high scalability, high availability, and all the rest of it. With Oracle Primavera Cloud, you get, again, there are two options. You can either log in through a web browser, but there's also an option to download a desktop client of Oracle Primavera Professional. And of course, whichever you choose to access your projects, then they just connect to the OPC database, wherever in the world that is. And I think the list of locations for that is growing day by day. So that's quick access to the Oracle Cloud. Now, what I've tried to do here is I haven't mentioned PPM yet. So like I say, one of the reasons why we decided to run this Lunch Bytes session was, well, what's PPM and what's EPPM, and where does Oracle Primavera Cloud fit in? So I tried to create this little functionality matrix. I can't go too detailed because I think I'd need about 15 PowerPoint slides just to describe it. But if I run through it very quickly, the first column there is P6 Professional. That's a PPM license, and that is effectively a standalone version of P6. So it can sit on premise, so you can stick it on a server if you wish. It can't sit on the Oracle Cloud, and it's not a subscription model. It uses a local database, either SQLite or SQL Server. You get a desktop client, but you can't access it through a browser. And you'll see, I'm not going to go through all these for everything, but it's not multi-user, it's not multi-company, but you can do all the planning and scheduling you want in terms of creating projects and resource analysis and program analysis. But remember, it's only on a standalone. So you won't be able to easily share information. Someone might have a standalone on one desktop and a standalone on another desktop, and never will they meet. So you couldn't aggregate project costs or schedules or interlink projects. So it's very much, P6 Professional is very much a standalone version of P6, and you just get P6 Professional with that. Which, as I've already mentioned, P6 EPPM comes, the license for a P6 EPPM comes with two options. You can either use P6 Professional or you can use P6 Web. In fact, you can use both at the same time if you wish. So some functions you might find that you like in the P6 Web. So for example, P6 Web has got dashboards. You'll see I put yes here for dashboards, but P6 Professional doesn't have dashboards. So if you wanted to see your information graphically represented in a dashboard, and if you've got an EPPM license, you could create your project in P6 Professional, and then you can view it in P6 Web. So you can see here again, it's not a standalone version. It can be on-premise, it can be on Oracle Cloud, and there is also a subscription model available for P6 EPPM. It generally sits on either an Oracle or an SQL server. SQL servers generally running out of favors these days, so it will be supported by Oracle, but I would suggest that Oracle database is the way to go with that. So with EPPM, you do get a desktop client, that is P6 Professional course. You can access the web through a browser. Obviously, you don't get a browser for P6 Professional because it's a desktop client. So both professional and web are multi-user, multi-company. I'll put that in brackets. So you could create an EPS node for another company to access. There are some limitations or license restrictions that you might like to think about that. But again, either using professional or web, you can do all your planning. You can create your projects and build your relationships, add your resources and do program analysis. In P6 Professional, you don't get the portfolio analysis option. I mean, if it's a simple portfolio, just a grouping of projects, and I guess that could be a why, but you do get a nice graphical representation of portfolios using web. So you get the typical scorecards, investor maps, waterline analysis, and there's also a forecast bar, so you can do some capacity planning at the portfolio level within P6 Web. You can track costs and funds, but it's a pretty lightweight option in the web. It's fairly basic, I would say, but you can do it. So I've left that as a no. You can create a risk register in both professional and web, but you can't run the Monte Carlo analysis. So the EPPM license does not include the ability to create your P50s and P80s and do your probability analysis in Monte Carlo. If you do have a license of P6, PERT Master or Primavera Risk Analysis, then of course you can export your project out, and then you can import it into your PRA to run your Monte Carlo analysis, but that's a separately licensed application. Of course, in professional, you don't get dashboards where you do get them in the web. You don't get any lean planning in either professional or web. You get steps, okay? So you can create an activity, you can create steps under that activity, but again, you can't assign resources, you can't put start and finish dates, you can't put handoffs, so you can't put relationships between tasks. So there's no real lean planning in P6 EPPM. You do get some mobile options, obviously the web-based, so in P6 EPPM, there's a team member app for updating progress, there's a projects app for updating or viewing project progress, and there's also a progress app that is very similar to a timesheet application. So there is some mobile capability within the P6 EPPM license. Now, a quick whiz down the Oracle Primavera Cloud there. It's obviously not standalone, it's not on-premise, it's only available on the Oracle Cloud, and it's a subscription model. And by a subscription model, I mean you buy a 1 year or a 2 year or 3 year license for access to your Oracle Primavera Cloud. Obviously, the database sits on Oracle. You do have the option of a desktop client. It's multi-user, it's multi-company. You can do all your planning and scheduling, so create a project, resource analysis, program analysis. A really powerful portfolio feature as well. So like I say, it goes beyond the typical portfolio, waterlines and scorecards and investor maps. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that enables you to do scenario comparisons of portfolios as well. Really powerful costs and funds feature as well, so you can track budget and costs and funds in OPC. As I already mentioned, there is a fully fledged risk register, and at the touch of a button, you can run your Monte Carlo analysis, and that's included in the basic OPC license. So it's not a big deal. We wanted to run a Monte Carlo analysis. Of course, you get the dashboards and the lean planning. It doesn't have a team member app, if you like, but it does have projects and progress. So you can access your OPC projects and starts and finishes and update progress using a couple of apps from the Oracle Primavera Cloud stable. So it's really quite a basic functionality matrix, but I'm just trying to get over the differences between I want to buy a PPM license, or what's the difference between that and an ePPM license, and what does Oracle Primavera Cloud give me in addition to if I didn't want that. Also remember, there's no reason why you couldn't have a bit of both. You could take an ePPM license and you could integrate it into your Oracle Primavera Cloud instance. So maybe you use ePPM for your planning and scheduling, but there's 3 or 4 users that need to, run the risk analysis in the Monte Carlo, so you can use Oracle Primavera Cloud. So there's a gateway between, an integration between P6 and OPC. So we do have some customers who actually have both P6 ePPM and OPC. So like I say, that's a brief overview of the functionality matrix. What I've tried to do on the next couple of slides is try and describe some of the terminology and differences between ePPM and OPC. So if you're familiar with P6, for example, you know it's called the EPS, the Enterprise Project Structure. In OPC, it's called a workspace. However, you can modify that name and call it an EPS if you wish. The OBS, which controls security, is not the name that is used in OPC, but it's a really more simplified user access model. So we create groups and permission sets that allow users access to workspaces, access to projects, and then, of course, privileges to do what they need to do as a planner, scheduler, executive, contractor, whatever it might be in OPC. Both OPC and ePPM, of course, have got codes and user-defined fields, and both have configurable calculated fields. And of course, in OPC, we've got built-in workflow for project proposals, budget approval, and you can also create custom workflow and your own forms to push your own business process through OPC. That's just one screen there. That's about the high level, the enterprise structure. In terms of resource and role breakdown, it's very similar. You can see an enterprise-wide RBS structure, and you can also have an enterprise-wide RBS structure in OPC. But you can also create roles at a lower level within the EPS structure, and you can promote those roles and resources into a higher level if you wish. Or you can just have the higher level and you can roll it down. In terms of resource analysis, very similar. You get very similar resource and role analysis, histograms, stacked histograms, tabular views as well. And in OPC, it also includes resource demand functionality. I've already mentioned portfolio. It's fairly basic capability in ePPM. It does include a nice feature where you can drag and drop the forecast bars, but in OPC, it's a dedicated portfolio app. And like I say, it goes beyond the standard portfolio management. Really powerful tool, includes measures and all that good stuff. Actually, down at the project planning level, I've noticed this in P6, you can have a WBS summary task. That's one of the hammock activities, like a level of effort. But so far in OPC, there is no WBS summary activity type. You can live without that because there is a level of effort type, but I have found when you import a project from P6 into OPC, if it's got a WBS summary, you need to just be aware of that. In both systems, you've got multiple import-export file formats. Of course, XML is becoming more and more common these days, but just recently, Oracle announced that if a user, a licensed user of OPC has bought OPC, they're entitled to a free copy of P6 Professional. So sometimes the client has to produce an XER file. So we work quite closely with Network Rail, and their supply chain always insists on an XAR file of the project plan. Well, if the users only got access to OPC, the only export they've got is XML. So Oracle has said, you're right, okay, if that's the case, you can have a free copy of P6 Professional, and you can use that free copy to create an XAR file. That's the standard proprietary format for pushing projects out. So that's not a showstopper for anyone who says, well, in OPC, I'd use it, but I can only create an XML file. My client wants to see an XAR. Well, that's overcome thanks to Oracle. Great move. In terms of project planning, of course, P6 can do resource and cost management. It can do both bottom up and top down budget planning. It's fairly basic and there's no kind of maths involved in there. There's no formulas. However, in OPC, it's a fully featured cost and funds apps, and it's also managed through a workflow process as well. So we can track who's created the budget and who's approved it, and we can track it through the project proposal stage. Both OPC and P6 EPPM have got the DCMA quality health check. So the 14-point, how healthy is my project? So it's looking out for open ends and lag and activities without predecessors and successors, that kind of thing. So both EPPM and OPC have got the 14-point health check. Last slide on this now, risk analysis. I mentioned you do get a risk register in EPPM, but you get the Monte Carlo analysis in OPC. In terms of lean scheduling, you could use steps, but it has limited functionality in terms of being able to link steps with another activity or assign a resource or commitment dates or anything like that. So the lean scheduling task in OPC, fully fledged dedicated app. In terms of reporting, there is a separately licensed BI publisher that you can hook onto P6 EPPM. But there's a built-in BI publisher in OPC. So you can create a tabular report, you can turn that tabular report into a pie chart, a histogram, you can do your project on a page, basically straight out of the box with OPC. So before we do a quick Q&A, I'll see if there's any questions in the chat. What I did here was I've just got 3 screenshots, so I'm just going to take you through just for refresher, and I hope everyone remembers what P6 Professional looks like. So this is a typical P6 Professional view here. So we've got our activities, we're grouped by WBS. I can see activities that are in progress. I can see my progress line. I can see my baseline bars. I can show any columns of data that I want on my layout. I can group it, sort it, filter it. And of course, I can do my resource analysis just by clicking a button. I can see where my resources have been used, where they need to be used, and I can change this from a man-hours view to a cost view. I can see it for one resource or many resources. I can roll it up to different resource code levels as well. So this is the tried and tested P6. This is the one that's been around for a long, long time. In fact, at the previous Lunch Bytes session, we showed the latest version of P6 Professional, which is now a version 21, and it's got some absolutely fantastic features in P6 Professional. So there's rates on roles, scheduling options, and there's a whole new set of features. In fact, I think on the invite or on the blurb we sent out for this Lunch Bytes session, there was a link to the previous session we did, which extolled the virtues of the latest version of P6 Professional. So good on Oracle. They've been developing new products like OPC. They spent a lot of money developing the functionality in P6 Web, which I also really like, but they haven't taken their eye off the main breadwinner in the P6 stable, which of course is P6 Professional. So there are some amazing new features in P6 Professional. So that was a quick screenshot of P6 Pro. Let's see, have I got a quick screenshot of P6 Web? No, that's P6, that's OPC. Let me get the right one. There we are. So this is P6 EPPM. So remember, this is linked to the same database. So if I create a project in EPPM, it will appear in Professional. If I update that project in Professional, it'll update it in the web. So remember, EPPM is purely web-based. So all you need is a browser and a half-decent internet connection, and you get all the standard planning and scheduling, your day-to-day, your baseline bars, your resource analysis. Like I say, we've got some portfolio functionality as well. And of course, one of the big features of EPPM is you can have your own set of dashboards. And everyone loves a pie chart. Who doesn't love a pie chart? So once the data's in the system, absolutely no coding required. You just say which projects are in this portfolio, what data do I want to show, how do I want to show it. You click a few buttons. Like I say, no coding required. You can create any number of dashboards. So that's a quick view of EPPM. And the final one is the new boy on the block, which is OPC. So again, I think this looks a really clean and tidy interface. Of course, this is just the planning and scheduling view here. So this is the Gantt chart showing my actuals to this side of the date-to-date line. There's my baseline bars. I can see my forecast. I've got my critical path. I can show relationships. I can create inter-project relationships, so I can link two projects together. Again, I've got a very powerful instant resource usage, so I can look at everything for a particular resource, or just one resource, or a number of resources. It doesn't matter. So a really capable resource profiling option. And I suppose I'm duty bound to show you that if I go into the risk module, so these are on this left-hand side here, these are all the modules that are available in OPC. If I go into the risk register, I think I've got a risk register in here. And this should show me, yeah, there's my risks in this plan. And it gives me the ability to put in my pre and post response probability schedule and cost. And it'll give me a pre and post response score based on whatever I choose in here. So what I'm looking for, if I don't mitigate any of the responses, this score is going to be lower than this score. The post is going to be lower than the pre. So I can build my own risk register. You can import from Excel, you can export to Excel. You can put all your risk details in and your response actions and whatever else you might want. And of course, what you also get with OPC is you get the risk analysis. So we can run the Monte Carlo risk analysis. At the touch of a button, you'll get your P50, your P80, or in this case, yeah, this is a P10 and a P50 and a P90. But I can see my deterministic finish. How optimistic am I of finishing it? Well, not very. I'm actually out here. So if you're familiar with Monte Carlo analysis, this is an out-of-the-box functionality. So this is how Monte Carlo looks pre-response. I can just click a button here and show me what the post-response looks like. And then I can also just click a button here and say, okay, show me the pre and post-response side by side. So a very powerful risk analysis tool. And I'm not even, I don't have time today, but remember, there's portfolios, there's workflows, there's costs and funds, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. For me, this is I think this is the future OPC. If you're asking me to stick my neck out on the P6 shootout and say which is best, well, RPC as a company, we sell solutions. Those solutions happen to be from the Primavera product set. So talk to us about what your issues and planning process requirements are, and we can give you guidance and say, actually, you might benefit from OPC. Actually, you might be benefiting more from EPPM. Or it might even be, well, have you had a look at Aconex yet? Or have you had a look at Unifier? So remember, RPC, we sell solutions, and I'm not going to stick my neck out and say, OPC, this is the one you want. It's horses for courses. So I've been doing a lot of gabbing there. I don't know if I've got any questions, but what I'm going to do now is have a look in the chat. And did we get any questions in there? And if we did, I'll try and answer some of those. Okay, so I'll keep quiet for a second or two. If you want to unmute and ask any questions, please feel free, fire away. There was a question here. Can you install PPM on a Citrix database for multi-user functionality? Yes, you can, Adam. The answer to that is yes. The last session was really good. Tell the difference between previous version and new. Will be good if you can rerun that as I need a refresher. Okay, Dominic. Well, we've got a recording I can send you. If you want to deep dive into anything else, by all means, give me a shout and we can have a look into anything. I can send you the link to version 20 as well. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, hi Peter. Thanks for this. It's been really good. I've just joined a company. They haven't got any. I'm essentially setting up the planning function from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, the only thing they use, which I could see a bit of a problem, they seem to be really heavy on this usage of task by planner and to do on Teams. There seems to be what a lot of them have been using. So I'm wondering, is there? I know there's like a sort of task application with what you were showing earlier. Does that integrate into Teams at all? And is there an app which can
into Microsoft Teams, you mean?
Yes, yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. There's a couple of Oracle peeps on here. I don't know if that's on the roadmap, but I think the answer's no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the answer's no. But if you're interested in looking at the tasks side of things in OPC, the lean work planning, then I'll gladly schedule a call for that, Warren. Not a problem.
That'd be really good. Yeah.
Just give me a shout and we can set something up.
Good man. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Any other questions? Okay, well, 45 minutes was scheduled. 45 minutes we've done. It's all in the planning. So I'd just like to say, thank you for attending. And this is Sheriff Gable signing out.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, Peter. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.